Hi dear students, good morning all. In my last video, we have discussed about the Bohr's atomic model. Means he postulated three statements, postulations, and that all we have studied in the last video. I will briefly explain it once again. According to Bohr, Neil Bohr, the structure of atom is given by three postulates. First one is which describes the radius of the orbitals. Second one which describes the velocity of electron in those orbitals. And third one is about the energy of the electron. Means first postulate states that every electrons revolve around the nucleus in a specific certain stationary orbits. Orbits are stationary, but the electrons will be revolving on it. And based on that based on that postulate, further explanation is given, that is based on the energy of electrons. That is to revolve around the nucleus, electrons need some force, that is centripetal force, and that centripetal force is balanced by the electrostatic force of attraction between the nucleus and the electron. This is about the first postulate, and based on this postulate only we have discussed the radius of the orbitals. And the second one, that is about velocity of electrons. Electrons revolve around the nucleus in a specific orbits with certain angular momentum. That angular momentum is the integral multiple of h by 2 pi, where h is a Planck's constant. That all we have discussed. And the third one is about the energy. Electrons jumps from higher energy to lower energy, resulting in the production of radiation with a certain specific frequency or wavelength. That value of a frequency depends on the energy levels, that is E2 minus E1 is equals to h nu. That all we have discussed in the last video. Let us study up further about the second postulate and third postulate here. In the last video we have derived the equation of radius of the Bohr's stationary orbits, that is Rn is equals to epsilon naught h square divided by pi m e square into n square by z. This is we have derived. Okay, how we got this equation? I have to in the last video I have written directly the value here, so I'm explaining it once again. We know these constant values, these are some constants are there here. Epsilon naught, it is also constant. Permittivity of free space, h Planck's constant, pi you know that, m mass of an electron, and e charge of an electron, and n and z related to the orbitals, and z is atomic number. Okay, permittivity of free space epsilon naught is equals to 8.854 into 10 raised to minus 12 farad per meter, and h Planck's constant 6.625 into 10 raised to minus 34 joule second, and pi 3.14, m mass of an electron 9.109 into 10 raised to minus 31 kg, and charge of an electron E is equals to 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb. And for hydrogen we are considering, so the hydrogen atomic number is Z is equals to 1. On substituting these data, we are going to get this value. Rn is equals to 0.53 angstrom, means 10 raised to minus 10. This value is known as Bohr radius. First orbit to the radius, so which is given by Bohr. So this is called as Bohr radius A naught. Here these all are some constant parameters, nothing but epsilon naught, h, pi, m, e, and z. If I consider these all as a constant parameter, Rn directly proportional to n square, means directly depends on the orbitals of the atom. So Rn is directly proportional to n square, which means as you go on increasing the number of orbitals, what happens to radius? Radius also goes on increases with the square root values. Okay, these are some certain explanation for radius of Bohr atomic model. This is based on the first postulate, and again we shall going to study about the velocity of electron in Bohr's stationary orbit, which is based on the second postulate of Bohr atomic model. First one, that is according to Bohr's second postulate, what it states? From Bohr's postulate, second postulate, we can explain the velocity of stationary orbits, which is given by the electrons revolve around the nucleus with certain angular momentum. That angular momentum is depending on or is equals to it is the integral multiple of h divided by 2 pi. So I have written here MVR, nothing but angular momentum. Angular momentum is equals to nh by 2 pi. This is the second postulate. Our aim is to find the velocity equation here. So I am retaining this velocity value on the left hand side and sending this m and r to the right hand side. So since they are multiplied here, on going to right hand side, what happens? They will get divided. So Vn is equals to nh divided by 2 pi m into Rn. Vn can also be written as Vn is equals to nh divided by 2 pi m. Since these are constant, I have separately written here and into 1 by Rn, because we know the radius value equation. We have the equation. So I have written the constants on one side and another, this one 1 by Rn on other side. Since we know the value of radius, Rn is equals to n square h square epsilon naught divided by pi m z square. So on substituting this equation into this equation, that is from 1 and 2, from equation 1 and 2, Vn is equals to nh by 2 pi m. See constants I have written directly. 1 by Rn is there. Here Rn value we know that. We need to write the reciprocal value of Rn. Rn is n square h square epsilon naught divided by pi m z square. Reciprocal of Rn is pi m. Denominator comes up on the numerator. So pi m z square divided by n square h square epsilon naught, because we need the value of reciprocal of Rn. So on simplification we are going to get, because here n is there, here denominator n square, 1 n cancelled, and also h is there, here also h is there, 1 n 1 h will be cancelled, pi cancelled, m cancelled. Remaining quantities, if you written in college, Vn is equals to what happens? Z e square divided by 2 epsilon naught n into h. This is the equation of velocity of electrons in the specific orbits. Okay, let us concentrate on the velocity of the orbits with respect to the orbitals. Here also there are some constant parameters, that is Vn is equals to Z square divided by 2 epsilon naught h. These all are constant parameters. Again n is a variable factor here, because there will be more number of orbits. For n is equals to 1 means first orbit. So similarly we can go for different velocities of electron in different orbitals. So therefore Vn inversely proportional to n. Velocity of electrons inversely proportional to number of orbits, which means as you go on increasing the number of orbits, means the velocity of electrons in the highermost orbitals will be less comparative to the innermost electrons, because the distance varies, and from this equation inversely proportional, what happens? Velocity goes on reduces as you move on to the higher orbits. On substituting these data, constant parameters, we know that Z is equals to 1, E is equals to 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb, and remaining these substituting these values into this equation, what happens? Vn is equals to 2.18 into 10 raised to 6 meter per second is the velocity of electron in first orbit. This is the maximum velocity. ಯಾಕಂತಂದ್ರೆ ವೆಲಾಸಿಟಿ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ನಾವು ಹೈಯರ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ಸ್ ಹೋದಂಗೂ ರೆಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೋ ಹಂಗೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ವೆಲಾಸಿಟಿ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟಲ್ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ವೆಲಾಸಿಟಿ 2.18 into 10 raised to 6 meter per second. Based on this, we are going to derive the equation of energy of electron in different orbitals. Okay, we know that energy, total energy is the sum of the kinetic energy and the potential energy, that I have written here. En is equals to kn plus un. Here n indicates the number of orbitals. Okay, let us derive the equations separately. Kn, the value of kn, and the un, potential energy and the kinetic energy. First one, kinetic energy is equals to, we know that half mv square, that I have written. half mvn square. From the first postulate we have discussed this one, centripetal force of an electron is balanced by electrostatic force of attraction. This I am considering because to get the value of mv square. So yeah, from centripetal force mv square divided by r is equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught ze square by rn. That we have discussed in the first postulate when deriving the equation for the radius. That I have mentioned it once again here. So we can get mv square is equals to ze square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught rn. On substituting this value mv square into the kinetic energy equation from 2 and 3, kinetic energy becomes ze square divided by 8 pi epsilon naught into rn, because 1 by 2 is remained here, 1 by 2 is there, 1 by 2 into ze square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into rn. 4 into 2 8, so ze square divided by 8 pi epsilon naught rn is the equation of kinetic energy. Similarly we are going to derive the equation for potential energy. U is equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q2 by r. You know that equation. So q1 is nothing but charge of a nucleus, that is z into e, and q2 I have considered electron. The charge of electron I also considered with a negative sign, ze into e divided by rn. So total on this equation becomes un is equals to minus ze square minus z e into e square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into rn. So we got these two quantities here. One is kinetic energy and another one is potential energy. So on substituting equation 4 and 5 in equation number 1, so we can get the value of total energy. Total energy is equals to kn plus un. That can be written as kn is ze square by 8 pi epsilon naught rn plus of minus, because this potential energy is in terms of minus, negative value, negative ze square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught rn. Here some parameters are constant, so let us take that constant parameters outside. Z square is common here and 4 pi epsilon naught rn is also common, so take it outside. Remaining is on this factor here 1 by 2 is remained minus 1. 1 by 2 minus 1 is minus 1 by 2. So minus 1 by 2 into the same factor. Minus 1 by 2 into 4 is minus 8. So minus ze square by 8 pi epsilon naught rn is the equation of energy. Total energy of a system, total energy of an atom is given by this equation. This equation can again briefly explained on substituting the value of Rn, because Rn, if you know the Rn, then only you can explain the En. So if I take it outside, means these parameters are constant here. Z is constant, E is constant, pi, epsilon, all are constant. The variable factor is Rn, and we know the equation for Rn also. So I am again going to simplify it by substituting the Rn. Okay, we have written the equation of energy minus Z square divided by 8 pi epsilon naught into 1 by Rn. Now I have substituted the value of Rn. That is, we know that Rn is equals to n square h square epsilon naught divided by pi m z square. But we need the reciprocal of Rn, so it becomes pi m z square. Denominator comes to the numerator, pi m z square divided by n square h square epsilon naught. On simplifying it further, z into z, z square, e square into e square, e power 4, and m is remained here. I have written directly. Since pi and pi get cancels here, and 8 is remained, 8 n square h square epsilon naught into epsilon naught square. This is the final equation of energy. But again there is some constant parameters and variable parameters. I have separated them. That is minus m e square by 8 h square epsilon naught square is a constant parameters, and z and n are variable. For hydrogen atom, if you consider, z is also constant. So on substituting the values of these constant parameters M, you know that M is mass of an electron, 9.1 into 10 raised to minus 31 kg, and E is a 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb charge. Epsilon naught, similarly H, Planck's constant. You all know the constant parameter. Substitute those values and simplify it. You will get this value. In terms of electron volt, if you calculate, minus 13.6 electron volt divided by n square. For different orbitals, n is equals to 1, 2, 3. Likewise, for different orbitals, you can calculate the value of energy. This is the generalized equation of energy in terms of electron volt. Okay, if I substitute the values, n is equals to 1, what happens? 13 minus 13.6 by 1 square 1, the value becomes 13.6 only. Similarly, n is equals to 2 square becomes, so minus 13.6 divided by 4, that is minus 3.4 electron volt. Similarly, n is equals to 3. Likewise, you can calculate the energy of any number of orbitals. One thing we have to concentrate is, main thing is minus sign. This minus sign indicates the bounding of electrons to the atom. The electrons will always be bounded to the atoms. They are not free to move outside the atom. That indicated by this negative sign. If I go on calculating the number of higher number of orbits, the energy of higher number of orbits, that is for n tends to infinity, larger orbits, what happens? The energy becomes 0. Means the electrons will not be the part of the atom. They will come from outside the atom. That it indicates energy becomes 0. Energy becomes 0 means the electrons are free from the atom. Okay, based on these study, we can draw the energy level of electron. Here I have drawn the energy level of a hydrogen atom by considering the same equation what we have derived. En is equals to minus 13.6 divided by n square in terms of electron volt. This is the graph nature versus with respect to energy in electron volts with respect to number of orbits. For first orbit, we call it as ground state. N is equals to 1. The energy is minus 13.6 electron volt. Next level is n is equals to 2. For n is equals to 2, energy is minus 3.4. Similarly, for n is equals to 3, minus 1.51 electron volt energy. For n is equals to 4, energy is minus 0.85. Similarly, if you go on calculating the values, you at certain level, what happens? The energy becomes 0. So this first state is called as ground state, and the remaining all are called as excited state, because electron gains energy from the outside source, any of the external source, and jumps to the higher state. The electrons become moves to the excited state. After certain levels, what happens? Energy becomes 0, and there may be some other levels after the 0 also. Such type of levels are called as unbound state. From this nature, we can make some keynotes based on this nature that I have listed here. First one is hydrogen has 1 electron. You know that the number of electrons in the hydrogen atom is 1, which normally occupies the lowest state at room temperature. Normally at room temperature, what happens? The 1 electron which has the hydrogen which having the 1 electron which occupies the lowest state. Always it will be in its original state or lowest state at room temperature. If you supply some external source of energies, what happens? Hydrogen absorbs the energy and electron jumps to the higher energy levels due to rising temperature. One of the factor for rising jumping of electron. If the temperature is increased, means the supplying of energy, heat energy kottaga enaitu electron jump to the higher state. The electron jumps to the higher energy level due to the rising temperature. Then what happens? The atom is in excited. We can say it as electron is in excited state. Next, atom. Now what happens if it is in excited state? The atom is said to be unstable. ಯಾವಾಗ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಹೈಯರ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟಲ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಜಂಪ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೋ ಅವಾಗ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಆಟಮ್ ಈಸ್ not neutral, so it become unstable, and always every atom tries to attain stability henge by liberating energy. So atom become unstable. Now it tries to attain stability by emitting radiation in the form of photons. Okay, E2 minus E1 is equals to h nu, we have discussed. So that h nu is nothing but energy is liberated. What happens then? If the energy is liberated, it jumps to it come back to its normal position. Then okay, this again the atom becomes stable. Every atom when it is unstable tries to attain stability by emitting radiation. Now if I consider the unbound states, the energy at n is infinity. In orbitals, if I consider higher orbits, energy becomes zero. Unbound states, electrons become free. Means ಈಗ ಒಂದು ಆಟಮ್ ಇದೆ, ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ರಿವಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ನಾ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ ಸೋರ್ಸಿಂದ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟೆ, ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತು, ಆ ಎನರ್ಜಿನ ಅಬ್ಸಾರ್ಬ್ ಮಾಡ್ತು, ಹೈಯರ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿಗೆ ಹೋಯ್ತು, ಹೈಯರ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ಗೆ ಹೋಯ್ತು. ನಾನು ಇನ್ನೂ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ಅವಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟಿಗೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. Next, if I continue the supply of energy, what happens? It will move on to higher orbits until when the energy becomes normal to the electron. Andre ಈಗ ನೋಡ್ರಿ, ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟಿತ್ತು ಎನರ್ಜಿ? -13.6 ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ವೋಲ್ಟ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಇತ್ತು. ನಾನು +13.6 ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ವೋಲ್ಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? -13.6 + 13.6 is 0. Means the electron nearly comes to the unbound state. ನಾ ಇನ್ನೂ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಹೋಯ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಆಟಮ್ ಇಂದಾನೆ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡ್ತು. ಹೊರಗೆ ಬಂತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಯ್ತು, ಆಟಮ್ ಈಸ್ ಅಯೋನೈಸ್ಡ್, ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಚಾರ್ಜ್ಡ್. ಸೊ the energy at n is equals to infinity is 0. Electron become free, the atom becomes ionized. This is being explained with the help of third postulate, that is the total energy of the electron. Based on this, in the next video we are going to study about the semi empirical formula that we have derived, that we have mentioned in the last video. 1 by lambda is equals to r into 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square. This equation, how it was derived, based on the energy equation, total energy of electron, that is based on this equation only. This that semi empirical formula, how it was derived, that and also the application of this energy equation to the spectral series, that is Lyman series, Bauman series, that all we are going to study in the next video. Thank you.